Hmm. Okay, versus here.
I'm not sure. Why you do that? We can have so.
Maybe we can put it at the front of the podium. Do you think that will work?
Why?
Uh,
Not as long as
I see, I see.
this is done. Since it was
That's okay.
okay, email is off. Okay, see you.
Oh, I need to do the same. We have Agatha Ngozi. Okay. Who do we have on the Zoom?
Sunday.
Just Sunday. And there's someone under attendees, maybe?
Sorry. But they are not
Not presenting. Hello, Tosin, wherever you are.
who are saying, can you hear us? Good morning, welcome. Sunday.
You should have Victor coming on Zoom. We don't have the first presenter with us. Yes, maybe that's what we should do. Want to begin? Your second in order? And Suliat, I also have not heard from. And you won't be offended if I tell you when you've done 10 minutes.
No,
And again, you've done, 13 or 14. I'll tell you almost time. Okay. You're rushing. Do you have a tendency to rush? I'll let you know. Do you say in Yoruba some way of like slow down, slow down? Because they do an Igbo, right? They have. You speak Yoruba,
Yes,
right?
I do.
Yeah. Do you have the same one?
Yes.
Yeah. What is it in Yoruba?
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. I studied a little Igbo. I think it's Nwayo and why. I think so. I think so. If I'm remembering. Victor. He is last panelist. Yeah, top of the next page. Welcome, Victor.
Yeah, good morning.
Great, we hear you.
I'm trying to share your, so that you can share your.
Okay, I'm not connected to no.
Because this one is slow. Email is still, it's taking a long time. I think yours is faster. And you can try yours.
I don't have a password, I don't think.
Personalize
No, to connect.
the internet.
Yeah.
You have internet.
Yes. Maybe, yeah. Yeah, okay. I'll do that when we. Welcome.
Always have 20 minutes.
I'm one of our presenters. Oh, hi. Right. You can sit wherever you like. Okay. Okay, we have almost all presenters then. Unless, yes, who do we have on the Zoom? Anyone else? Yes.
That's me. Oh, that's it.
Flash over here.
I think you have to do that.
Okay, yeah, let's begin. Welcome, everyone. Hello.
I'll send it first. You should experience.
I'm Brian Barona. Was put down as the chair, so I guess I'll welcome you all, and I will introduce our first speaker. I think we'll rearrange the schedule a little bit here since we don't have our scheduled first speaker. So, Asholu, do you want to present from the podium? Or should we, yeah.
Yes.
So our first presenter is Asholu Oluwaferami Adeyinka, who is a Nigerian researcher with a master's degree in music psychology from Unilag, and her research explores the intersection of psychology and therapeutic interventions for children, students, and the elderly, with a focus on music-based approaches. Driven by both personal and academic experience, she's currently pursuing opportunities to begin a PhD in music and clinical psychology, with particular interest in child development and mental health.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. I hope you can hear me. Okay. Good morning. Thank you so much. Okay, so I'll just start. Today I'll be presenting. So today,
Today, I'm
Does she need to mute because this will pick her up?
I think I need to.
You should mute, right?
Yeah. The people online is very good.
Ah, okay. So mute this and she'll speak then. Okay.
Okay. Can they hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. So harmonizing well-being, music as a therapeutic stress relief tool for the University of Lagos. That's what I'll be discussing on this morning. And I'll just share a little story before I continue. So I had in 2019, I had my first daughter, and she had perinatal anesthesia at birth because of the long stress labor and all stress that comes with labor and all of that. And during the process, she stayed about the prenatal clinic or whatever they call it. And the nurses there would play music. They play music generally for the kids there. They do a lot of things. They sing to them and all. And that's, in a way, got me interested. I began to think, okay, don't they feel these children are disturbed? And it's different from you playing a lullaby or something. It's quite different. Just playing random music, the general. So before I knew it, she was fine. Something that was supposed to take like a while. She spent only a week there. And I began to think, would it be that the music, including the medication, obviously, that the music have an impact in her health? And to even make it more interesting, she was supposed to have some certain deformities. No, she's perfectly fine. So I began to think, okay, I think the music would most likely have an effect on treatment and the care she had there. So this made me actually interested in the whole concept of music therapy and all of that. But based on this topic now, look at the situation of Nigeria, look at how stressful everything is in Nigeria. I'm sure for those that are new in Nigeria, you must have encountered, if not any stress, traffic stress. Yeah. So a lot of people, everybody, there's nobody in Lagos State that will say I didn't go to stress. For instance, using myself as an example, I came from way of State this morning. And I encountered a lot of stress getting here. I didn't drive down, so you can just picture that and see how it looks like. So everybody, now imagine a student, specifically the students of the University of Lagos, right? Having to run a degree, including family pressure, financial pressure, a lot of pressure, even relationship pressure that comes with the university age and all of that. And looking at also the peculiarity of the country, that if the traditional method we have of managing stress are either inaccessible or underutilized. That's the truth. For instance, going through a breakdown or a downtime, and I need to see a therapist. Either I have to pay through my nose to see that therapist, or I don't even get to see them because they are basically not available for me to look after. So that's also got me interested in this area, and I'll be exploring how music, which is a universal language, can transcend boundaries and can serve as a non-invasive and cost-effective tool for managing all those kinds of stress. At the end of this presentation, I aim to not just show you how the music therapy is going to be right? But I also want us to talk about ways that we can better realize our students to thrive. The truth is, if we look at all of these students, it's not like they are not smart. A lot of them are quite smart. They are quite intelligent. But they end up getting bad grades because they can't comprehend, they can't balance up the stress with the academics. A lot of people, probably their parents, are going through financial issues, find it difficult. Oh, they paid their fees, but they find it difficult to afford 3 square meal or even 2 square meal. So there's a popular saying in Yoruba. Should I say in Yoruba? My father said say it. Which means it's what the bird eats. It's what the bird eats that is going to get the energy from it. So I hope I interpreted it well. Okay. So that's basically a student, a learner, a graduate or postgraduate student, whatever, that hasn't eaten well, would definitely find it difficult to assimilate in class and understand things that are being taught. Okay, so the background that I stated a few of this, but I'll just go through the slide as it is. Looking at the students of the University of Lagos, face numerous strengths like accreditation area, financial burdens, which definitely adds the pressure. A lot of people, another thing I see is pressure from home. We have a lot of parents put a lot of pressure on their kids. Oh, you have to get this grade. Oh, it's your mates that are coming out with first class. Oh, you have to come up with it. What are you doing? Are you playing in school? So that pressure alone is enough to make a child stress rather. So all of these things, social expectations. For instance, if I don't come out with a class offer, if I don't come out with certain grade in my master's degree, I can't further into my PhD. All of those things definitely cause stress. That's not how we want to do it. Now coupled with Lagos stress. Remember, we're looking at Lagos. Looking at Lagos stress. It might not be peculiar to maybe other universities in Lagos or in Nigeria rather, but looking at the peculiarity of Lagos, the population and everything, the stress that comes with moving around, coupled with all of these things I've mentioned, the whole lot. Now, for many Nigerians, these pressures are further compounded by inadequate mental health resources. And really, we have little or no resources. We are not. I'm not sure the situation of our country even bothers about our mental health. I'm not sure. Everybody's just looking. We are just surviving. We are just trying to survive in this part of the world. So just look at all of that. And we also have limited access to professional counseling sessions. You go to a counseling session that even the counselor itself will be judging you. I don't know if you've heard things like that. So and I as a student, if I was an undergraduate, I don't want to get myself that kind of counseling. I don't want to go there and allow me to be looked down upon and talked down on. So one thing yet on the explored soul is music. There's a lot of people, we listen to music, we do music, we go for concert and all of that. But we've not understood. We just think, oh, let me just hang out with my friends. But music, the power of music is beyond that. Music deeply rooted, music which is deeply rooted in Nigerian culture and everyday life. Almost a natural and familiar medium for stress. Numerous studies have shown, like during the course of this literature, reviews, and all of that. So I saw and I noticed that a lot of people have said, oh, music is possible for music to be able to reduce your stress level and all of that. But now the question I ask myself a lot of literature review, like, oh, music is possible for music to be. I ask myself is what type of music? My studies on the right? Because during my studies on the graduate level, we were also it's classical music, and all of that. That's music from one of those periods. That's music from one of those periods and all of that. But I began to think, okay, as a Nigerian, would this fly? Like that's continuing. However, despite its potential, use of music as a formal, quote unquote, right? Formal. Remember, I said people do listen to music. But now, is it a formal? Is it something that is formally used for therapeutic intervention in Nigeria universities? This is still rare. It is still rare. Now, this. Excuse me. So like I said, I actually interviewed some of the students of the University of Lagos and conducted. I used the Google form to do the questionnaire for them to attempt, and quite a number of them attempted. But here is where I'm going to. The usual thing, most of them said they listen to music, and the questionnaire, they said they listen to music, they play music relieves them of stress, but they didn't know when I'm tired. Let me just play one or two music. Now, what surprised me in the course of this search is the fact that you might notice, because I began to ask myself, okay, the music that was selected now, I began to ask myself those questions. As we go, you're going to understand the reason why I asked myself that question. Now I looked at the fact that our religion, our culture really affected the type of music people listen to. Right? So I'm now concluded with this research that not just any kind of music, just like my professors would have told me or used to say that, oh, classical music is the best for you to get calm and all of that. I began to realize during the course of the study that I can only feel relaxed. My stress level can only be reduced only and only if I listen to music that I find interesting. So if the music is not, I don't find it interesting. For instance, I sit down here and you're playing rock or you're playing pop. If I don't get any message of what you're playing, I don't think I would feel okay with that music. I'll probably leave there having a headache. Right? But looking at, if you look at the question, this is just like an analysis of the question. Yeah. Now the top the music that pops up here is gospel. That's why I was asking myself: is gospel music really a style? But we saw people saying, "Oh, once it's the gospel music, I feel okay." And what does that mean to me? It simply means the religion has influence on that person's decision, on that person's choice of music. We have other styles there that people pick. So I'm just going with the one that pops out. So gospel, it could be loud, it could be soft, it could be fast or whatever. No matter, as long as it's gospel music, it suits me. I feel relaxed, right? A certain percentage says okay, like the question, the music helps you assimilate better. 47% of the people that answered the question said music helped them even assimilate better. Music helped them even assimilate better. And I'll ask, so why don't you use this music since it helps you assimilate better? I think as I'm speaking now, some ideas are still coming to me. Why don't you utilize it? We don't do it formally. Remember, we are not incorporated formally in our system. So everybody is just doing this on an individual level. And I think people are beginning to, people's eyes are beginning to open. I have a scenario where I went to secondary school here in Lagos, and while the kids were having lunch, there was a background music. And I began to think, okay, I think people are beginning to understand, because there's no reason why you should be playing music while I'm eating, right? On a regular Nigerian setting. But yeah, it is. So I guess people are beginning to understand the impact and the positive impact music has on our brain development. I mentioned the story of my first daughter. When I had my second daughter, I made it more, I took it more seriously. From the point of conception throughout the pregnancy till I had her, I used to play different styles of music. And I noticed that sometimes I'll play some music she keeps a lot. So those things make me now want to know more about the impact of music, but even the brain development. That's why biography, child development. So all of these things are is very beautiful. Let me just put it now. Like I said, the question here: what is the necessity of music that helps you feel better? So remember, they've said gospel music. Now, soft. There's a lot of people picked that if the gospel music is soft, they feel better. While we still have another percentage say they don't mind if it's loud. Now, which boils down to what I said earlier, what I find interesting. So what might be interesting to you might not be interesting to me, which definitely means it won't be suiting to me. It won't reduce my stress level whenever I'm stressed and all of that. So I just feel this is what the students generally, or even everybody generally should look into, right? As long as you are human, right? You should be able to include this in our daily lifestyle. Some people don't bother, they are not bothered, or they would rather use medication, right? Which over time we have an after effect, whether we like it or not. Because I don't know, I'm not a science person, but I feel these are chemicals that are just mixed together for me to use. So over time, okay, all right. So, okay, thank you. So over time, all of these things would have a side effect. So why not use music that won't cost me any harm? Okay, so what I recommended during the study is that okay, as a person now, remember I looked at the students of the University of Lagos, but I just want to generalize it now. You could create a playlist of your favorite song. You could use music to facilitate relaxation. You could go to concerts and all of that, attend live events, music events, incorporate music into an exercise. I'm glad we have a lot of gym in Nigeria now. And they do all of this music. No matter the start, they they play music even as you work out. It makes your workout interesting. And it also, whether we like it or not, is helping us level of stress, and is also helping us live well. Let me put it that way. Okay, so I've mentioned my findings on the other side. So in conclusion, right? Like I mentioned that I collected data with the Google form and all of that, and it provided valuable insight into the impact of music on stress level amongst the students of the University of Lagos, right? But this could be generalized because I feel it will work for everybody. Now, the quantitative analysis of the survey responses indicated a clear correlation between music engagement and stress reduction. Students who listen to music they find interesting and appealing are able to feel better and manage their stress level compared to just listening to any type of music. Thank you for listening. Thank you.
At the end of all the pictures for some questions. So
Thank
we can
you.
return to some of these issues. I am up next. Should I join the screen? Yes, Steve.
So, I'm going to share it. So during the question, since the next in October.
Let me see if I can share my screen. Ah, here we go. One moment. Good. Okay. Is it working? Okay, great. I'm Brian Barone. I am a professor of ethnomusicology from Boston University, and I research and write about musical circulation and hybridity around the globe with a special interest in West Africa and the Spanish-speaking Caribbean. Oh, you're seeing I want you to see that. Why is this not? Hold on. Can I not just share just this window? Okay. My paper today is in short version so that we make sure we have time. So please, I'm happy to discuss more. I'd like to begin with a passage from a letter in the June 19th Nigeria magazine on the topic of music. The letter will come up. Yes, I did. Okay, well, we'll hope for the best. And in that letter, here's this relevant passage. The Asiatic countries, India, China, Japan, their equivalents of Bach, Mozart, etc., and are proud of them. Nigeria can be proud of hers too. Rich music heritage on which her composers built. There's no reason why we should be proud of copycats. The letter, written, there it is, by one Martin Cisse, was meant as an inter-Nigerian ensembles such as the Police Band, a picture of which should be coming up in a moment, such as the Police Band was skilled enough to perform the compositions being used by an ever-growing number of Nigerian composers. But for the wrong way possible for Nigerian art music. That is, he wondered why Nigerian classical composers continued, he alleged, to hew to European models and to use European instruments. Instead, he suggested that Nigerian musicians and music to undertake a program of research in traditional Nigerian musics, drawing on the sonic and material resources of these traditions to, quote, give new dimensions to Nigerian music and make use of the latent powers of its musical instruments, end quote, to produce what Cisse called, quote, entirely new works, typically Nigerian, end quote. In fact, such experiments were being undertaken by Nigerian composers in this moment. However, they were unfolding mostly at universities in the United States. Cisse didn't know this. He lived in Makurdi. So from his vantage then, it was true that, as he complained, most forays into hybrid music were at the time directed by vernacular musicians working in the realm of popular music. It was happening with pop music, not with classical music. What he desired instead was to see such efforts translated onto the plane of art music, which he viewed as a better avenue for gaining prestige in an international order still structured by Western aesthetic priorities. Cisse's letter and the vibrant debate it references testify to the significance of music as a concern of Nigerian intellectuals and the reading public in the years surrounding independence. The moment was one in which cultural concerns sat right next to more explicitly political considerations as Nigerians set to work forging a new nation out of the messy legacies of colonial experience. And while Cisse's particular conclusions were his own, the problematic his letter addresses was widely shared. For those invested in music, the questions were substantial. What kind of music could address the colonial past while simultaneously forging a post-colonial national future? How would this music measure up on the world stage, and what should it be made out of, and who should make it? This morning, I'd like to consider some answers to these questions as given by three musical intellectuals active here in Lagos in the decade or so surrounding 1960. They are the musician and record producer Steve Rhodes, the novelist and journalist Cyprian Ekwensi, and the musician and scholar Akin Yuba. I've also done research on the great Fela Showande, but there won't be time to talk about him today. As in the letter we were looking at earlier, running through the work of these thinkers was a shared interest in traditional music as the key to a music suitable for independence. For Rhodes, traditional music was a fast diminishing but precious resource. For Ekwensi, it was a means for fostering inter-ethnic solidarity. For Yuba, it was a beacon for metropolitan modernism and a means of achieving international recognition. The work of these thinkers found expression across a range of media and forms, including radio programming, scholarship, journalism, fiction, and music composition. I've focused my work so far on their writing, but I'm very eager to find, if they still exist, recordings of their radio work. So if anyone later has any advice on where I might find those materials, I'd love to know about it. So while of course it's well known that since the mid-20th century, Nigerian composers of classical music have often drawn on material from traditional music in their work, what I hope to sketch today is an outline of the intellectual and theoretical background to this type of musical composition. In particular, I'll suggest that what these thinkers converged on was what might be called ethnographic modernism. That is, an approach in which the techniques and technologies of colonial ethnography were appropriated for post-colonial use, namely to reframe the traditional as at once an answer to post-colonial modernity and is itself modernist. Although I have time to only mention a few brief points about each thinker, that is Rhodes, Ekwensi, and Yuba, who you'll meet, I hope that a composite picture might emerge that begins to give a sense of what ethnographic modernism was all about. And I'll say that there are basically three things that these thinkers thought they could use the ethnographic mode, taking this colonial method of representing people through ethnography, they would take hold of it and try to do three things with it. First, it was going to be used for preservation. Second, it would be used for ethnic representation toward nationalist ends. And third, it would be used for promotion of the new nation on the international stage. You should be seeing in a moment a picture of Steve Rhodes, first thinker who was a music researcher. Ethnographic modernism began from over what he saw as a decline in the quality of Nigerian music in the 1940s and 50s. As a young man, more than 2 years carrying out a program of field recording all across the United States. This project is what he saw as dilution of musical practice and a wing of what he later national character of Nigerian music. In an essay of 1960, Rhodes attributed these problems to rampant rural to urban migration, on the screen. For rural areas, this often the loss of traditional knowledge and practices. And ashamed, Rhodes explained that music making left. He said, quote, the solo singer or the main drummer has left the village during the last so many months, and the substitute is, according to everyone's opinion, not so good. The people are therefore rather diffident about performing before strangers under these conditions, end quote. But he didn't see the situation as any better in the cities either. In the cities, he saw the time, discipline, and material conditions of urban life as interfering with the translation of traditional practices into new environments. Even worse, the influence of Western music via radio, records, and musical instruments resulted in what he saw as failed attempts at hybrid musics. He called these, quote, something which is neither here nor there and can only, in a very few cases, even be considered very good. He also said that the solution to this problem would be found in making field recordings, as he was doing for the NBC, which were important, he said, because, quote, field recordings will comprise the bulk of documentary evidence of what was, but these field recordings must be made now, and not just as curios, but for archives, so that future generations of Nigerians, musicians or otherwise, may have a starting point from which to work. So it's worth noting how Rhodes is thinking about time here. The past still exists in his present through things like traditional music, but the past and the present are very threatened. And if he wants Nigerian music, he needs to capture that past, archive. So now of ethnographic modernism. And that was to convert the cultural nationalism of the anti-colonial period into a pervasive and practical nationalism that could sustain widespread unity after independence. Here, ethnographic modernism functioned as a method for representing the new nation state of Nigeria in ethnic variety to itself. It allowed pathetic rivals and patriots. It is one of ethnicity's hallmarks.
composer searches for a unity between two important threads in his musical training. First, traditional songs and song texts, which he also became familiar with as he did field recordings like Woods did. And then also the European atonalism, European modern, very strange, progressive European music. He was beginning to think a new relationship between these two, in which they maintain their distinctiveness, yet also come to resemble one. They both are and are not the same, are different. This had important ramifications for global cultural politics in U.S. It suggested, he thought, that Nigeria could become a musical leader among nations. He said, quote, that while, quote, traditional Nigerian music is entirely different from that of Western Europe, and the average European finds it baffling and except for its suggested rhythms dull and exciting and monotonous, nonetheless, he said, the most progressive listeners in Europe thought that Nigerian music was even more advanced. Nigerian traditional music was more advanced than the latest European modern music. And he thought that by leveraging this, Nigeria could become one of the most musically important. Well, so to come to a close, and looking back to my vantage point today, what's striking is that this future that Yuba and the intellectuals predicted has at least in some ways come to pass, though not quite how we predicted it. As we know, today Nigeria is a major producer of music, and that music is an important export product, influential across the continent and increasingly across the globe. But today it's popular music that's fueling this moment, not the art music or classical music championed by the intellectuals who were active in the 1950s and 60s. Although I should note that none of them were particularly hostile to popular music. They just thought that it needed Nigerian classical music that would rocket the country to global fame music. And so although the connections between the intellectuals I've been considering and the contemporary musical scene are certainly roundabout and complex, it's not like Deneboy is thinking about Aki Yuba or something. I hope it still might be fruitful to reflect on their legacy and to entertain ways that it might have been relevant today. Thank you. Yeah. I think we should keep moving on or you'll hear next. Would you mind introducing yourself? I don't have a bio for you.
So this is
Yeah. Okay, we'll put you next. Hey, great. I didn't know you were here.
Yes. Have you tried to go?
Sure, please.
Hey everyone. Hey everyone. My name is Darius Yes, and I'm a PhD student of the Department of Linguistics and Application Studies. I'm here today to present to you a work of popularizing refugee and democracy. I'm starting from the introduction. So the use of this program language in music has not been the subject of controversy, a lot of arguments, disagreements, reflecting broader societal norms. So in particular, the trend of putting and hip hop music stand out for their own and overall complicated piece of language. This study, however, aims to look at how these jobs utilize explicit content and free messages, construct identity and engage their audience. So also the statement of the problem. The use of this vulgar language in this platform has remained a contentious issue, raising questions about its impact on the society that doesn't have any impact. They are often dismissed as the mere entertainment, whereby artists just want to showcase their talents or even sell their music or money for other purposes. But whereas they play a more significant role in shaping and reflecting societal opinions, exposition, and particular behavior. However, the implications of this vulgarity in and hip have not been adequately explored and academic research, leaving a critical gap in our understanding of how the function within these cultures. So then, for our aims and objectives, we are going to investigate the linguistic functions of this vulgar language. For our aims, we want to examine the audience perceptions. What do they think? Do they think that the use of this vulgar language in music has any impact in society, or they are just using it as a mere entertainment, whereby they just want to gain more fans, or they want to just relax? Another one is that we want to identify and categorize the type of vulgar language used in the selected question and info source. We want to know whether it's curse, swear, derogatory terms, or even violence. So then for our methodology, we are going to employ a qualitative research site. Then for our primary source of data, we are going to be selecting music from Fuji and hip-hop songs. Then we are going to change their lyrics. So we are going to select 2 artists and 15 respondents to know their opinion of what they think about the use of vulgar language in music. So for our theoretical framework, I made use of the social linguistics theory. So William Gabon defines social linguistics as the study of the effects of all aspects of society, which includes cultural norms, expectations on the way the language is used, and the effects of language use on the society. So literature view. So all the researchers as projected has all worked on music of one way or other. So the researchers have worked on music and related subjects, but none of them have compared how the subject of vulgarity being portrayed in Fuji and hip-hop music. So the relation of terms vulgar. Vulgar refers to words or expression that are considered offensive, offensive, or even especially regarding sex, bodily function, or even vanity. Then the audience perception refers to how an audience understand, interpret, how they react to and feel about the particular message the artist trying to send to society. Then our lyrics are the words of the song. They are written to the song and often express emotions, ideas, stories, or messages. So data presentation. Example of vulgarism from hip-hop from Olamide Bado. Title of the song is Stories of the Gods. So we are going to be looking at the lyrics. It's used for vulgar language, the type of vulgar language. So looking at the lyrics, we have on line 1, we have hotel delivery and we have the translation to English on the other side. So in the above lyrics, all the lyrics are vulgar and offensive because they contain sexual innuendos and sexual references. Then the question is whether ladies or women should be seen as sex objects or should sex be enjoyed or enjoyed mutually by the 2 parties involved. Because the artist on this slide was trying to say, which is meaning that he does not really care about the particular lady in question. So looking at the message is trying to pass across to the society. This is just to shame the people we refer to as gross girls, and to tell the society about how men should get like because they are paying for the sex and they should get the value for their money. So the audience perception. there is a tendency that we are going to have an erroneous impression that all women should be treated to by the artists during this. So another example from people, we are going to look at the Ramani and the Kesh. The title of the song is Among Youths. So the song says, after your city sites, then we have the translation on the other side. So everything about the lyrics from line 1 to line 10 is all there. In the lyrics above, we have the usage of profanity. They contain words that are offensive and vulgar, and are making references to sexual acts and body parts. We have words like the pussy, which means the female private parts. We have fitna, which is the sex enhancement. We have manga, which is the also, we have the use of swear and curse words. For example, I want to want that, which is really the achievement that their life is spoiled. We also have I want to go and so on. So derogatory words used by these artists are just intended to insult ladies that make it to African, because they believe that lady, there's no reason why you should make it for them. Because they believe naturally a lady should be sweet. So there's no reason why you should use an African, unless you are trying to bewitch or enchant particular you're trying to say. Then in audience perception, we have a lot of reaction from audience because they believe that there is no message that the artist is trying to pass across to society. It's just the words are just rubbish. But although some artists actually appraise this, while some frown at the state of such requests. Then we have another one from Fuji, from Abbas Akode. The title is Egungun Difia. So the lyric says, Bọ̀bọ̀ ò jẹ́ rí mú mi, ẹni tó ló ń jẹ kò lè fi ń jẹ bẹ́ẹ̀lì, àtẹni tó ní ọgọ kò lè fi ń gun bẹ́ẹ̀lì. So we have the translation on the other side, which is meaning that the artist is trying to tell us that, all these sexual workers, when they pay them, they want to get part of their money. So just don't find them whether there's somebody else wife. So this artist now is trying to tell us that artists you pay them, so you should get part of this money. You are right, the owner, that's the husband, and so you just not even make use of wife and that. So all these words, they are all older. In the example above, the use of vulgarity here are repulsive and offensive. So the language used here are considered inappropriately offensive and disrespectful. It includes words that are meant to provoke or demean, as the author was trying to tell us the way he has handled someone else's life. And whereas the person who wants to buy you does not even make use of it like that, but rather it's a treaty discussion. Also, there is a dominant usage of curse and swear words that translates to vulgarity. For example, which translates to which unfortunate person said my baby is dead. And we have another one. You mad people, stop joking about my baby. So from line 1 to line 10 of the song, everything vulgar. So we try to make a comparative analysis between the two music genres, the Fuji and hip hop. The Fuji, vulgarism in Fuji almost appears in Yoruba, just like you can see during and so on. They use slangs, idiomatic expression, and local essence. Then for the hip hop, they are often direct. And we have the use of words like nigger, bitch, fuck, pussy, and so on. So our research findings, there is a frequent use of code mixing and code switching, both for the hip hop and the Fuji. Also, there is a high frequency of vulgar expressions. They are found in fonts. Fonts include slang, profanity, sexual insistence, and etc. Also, there is a mixed reaction from audience. While some embrace this as truth-telling and artistic expression, others see it as promoting immorality and vulgarity in the society, especially because of this generation. So, in conclusion, this study has explored the use of vulgar language in Fuji and hip hop songs, shedding light on how linguistic choice reflect other societal, cultural, social, and emotional realities. Fuji and hip hop, though emerging from different cultural backgrounds, Yoruba traditional music and African American urban expression, respectively, share a common trend with their both and unapologetic use of vulgarity from very raw emotion, social creative identity, and resistance. Thank you all for your attention.
Thank you very much. Go next. And then Victor, I hope you're still with us on Zoom. We'll have you after.
Yes, I'm here. Victor is on standby.
Great. No, you should go. Please.
So it doesn't work. I said, yeah, I just. Thank you for that. That's it.
Okay, good idea. Victor, would you be able to present now?
Yes. Yes,
Okay.
I can present now.
Wonderful. Well, maybe while you get set up, I will introduce you to everyone here since I have your information. Our next
No
speaker,
problem.
our next speaker has a very auspicious name for Nigerian music. He is Victor Olaiya, same as a great legend. He is an assistant lecturer, Department of Theater and Media Studies at the University of Calabar, and he teaches digital humanities, photojournalism, music and performance, and documentary filmmaking. Victor is interested in exploring the intersection of culture, media, and communication technologies, and he is currently in search of PhD opportunities abroad to broaden his knowledge and get exposed to global standards in digital media. I think once we have Zoom sorted in a moment, we'll hear from Victor Olaiya.
All right, thank you. Okay, I think I'm set. I'm ready when you're ready. Can you see my screen?
Share your screen. Share your screen.
Can you see my screen now?
No, not yet. Let me see your screen.
You still cannot see my screen.
No, let me see your screen. Mr. Victor, are you there?
Yes. I'm trying to share my screen. Just give me a moment, please.
While Victor is fixing the Zoom, I also wanted to mention that there are many more panels on music today. Immediately following this is Music and Musical Culture 2 in B307. After lunch, there will be a discussion of Christopher Waterman's great book on Juju, and simultaneously, I believe, a session on Sakaro music, and then Music and Musical Cultures 3 at 5:30 in B307. So more music today at LSA. Okay. Victor, have you had any success?
I'm on it.
Okay, we're not seeing it, no?
Can you see my screen now?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay. Sorry for that delay. So my topic is Lagos Gen Z and Afrobeat, catalyst for cultural recalibration of new communication technology. As you can see, if you look through my topic, you will find out that this topic cuts across several disciplines. So this is an interdisciplinary research. I want to believe. Lagos Gen Z and Afrobeat. You could situate my work in sociology, in music, in cultural studies, in media, or technology. That said, by way of background, in the constantly evolving landscape of media, culture, and technology, the convergence of music and digital innovation has emerged as a transformative force in shaping Gen Z's reality. And among Lagos-based Gen Z, music, particularly Afrobeat, acts as a cultural cornerstone. It reflects their lived experiences and amplifies their voices. And this generation is characterized by digital nativity, of course. We know what Gen Z is like in Lagos State, Nigeria. And this generation also have a fearless embrace of creativity and exploration. They are actively leading the production and distribution, as well as the consumption of Afrobeat alongside several advanced digital media products. The Lagos Gen Z is not like every other Gen Z. The Lagos Gen Z is outspoken, is bold, is brave, adventurous, creative, and unapologetically Nigerian. So this research seeks to examine how the Lagos Gen Z navigates and explore the intersection of transnational music, media, and technology. And it also is anchored on Homi Bhabha's cultural hybridization theory, which emphasizes the dynamic blending of interacting culture. Long are gone the days where we used to write down of songs from growing up. We carry our paper and pen. We write lyrics from Tupac, Tony Braxton, Mary J. Blige, and the rest. But the case is not so much so now because many of our Nigerian artists are on those platforms where these other artists, performed and existed. Right now, we even have the digital platforms that is shared among everybody in the world. And the global village that was postulated by Marshall McLuhan had long ago come into place. So we are sharing the same culture. And this is why cultural hybridization theory has been selected for this study. And this study also seeks to highlight the ways Nigerian cultural elements synergize with global technological advancements, generating novel and brand new forms of expression and expanding the boundaries of cultural exchange. The crux of the matter here is the cultural exchange. And I'm picking Afrobeat as a tool because it's pervasive. Every Gen Z in Nigeria, one way or another, has the Afrobeat as a medium of cultural expression. So that's why I think the cultural exchange is the crux of this, is the main thrust of my work. And if we cast our mind back to recent times, we discovered that Afrobeat is no longer just a genre of music, because Burna Boy, Davido, Wizkid, and the rest, they've been performing on big stages around the world, like the opening ceremony of the World Cup, the closing ceremony of the Champions League, the Super Bowl. So Afrobeat is out there, and the youth are at the forefront of pushing this cultural narrative. So Afrobeat, I don't think we need to really define Afrobeat, but then let me just go through it a little. Afrobeat is a vibrant and globally influential genre of music that originated from West Africa, particularly in Nigeria and Ghana, and in early 2000s. So it's a fusion of African rhythms, hip hop, dancehall, R&B, and the likes, and is distinguished by syncopatic beats, melodious hooks, and rhythmic intensity. So that's what Afrobeat is. And Afrobeat is no longer just a genre, like I said. It has become a cultural tool in the hand of young Nigerians, which they use to challenge global narratives and solve issues of representation. And speaking more about Gen Z, I will just rush through this. To know the people who are at the forefront of pushing this, that's why I'm going through the Gen Z experience. So the identity and attitude of the Gen Z is creative, bold, and individualistic, like I said, and they are digital natives. Therefore, they are online, they are commenting, posting, sharing, and engaging with the entire world with our own narrative. And of course, the culture and the interest of the Gen Z is also Afrobeat, because that's the soundtrack of the Lagos Gen Z. And when I say Lagos, I don't really mean Lagos Gen Z, because Lagos is a microcosm of the entire Nigerian experience when it comes to youth and young people. So whatever Lagos represents is what Nigeria typically represents. So let me just rush through this. Lifestyle and hustle, of course. Lagos-based Gen Z are content creators and vloggers. And in summary, the Gen Z is Lagos Gen Z is energetic, experimental, and digitally immersed, Afrocentric, and yet they are global. So this is the main thrust, because when you push your own culture, your own narrative, you meet with global culture and you interact on that level, and global culture in turn interact with you. And that's where the cultural hybridization theory works with my study. So the central thesis of this work is that Afrobeat and the Lagos Gen Z have gone from consumption to recalibration. The Afrobeat, since we are consciously engaging with other cultures and we are equipped and we are going with ours, it means that we can actively recalibrate both the local culture and the global culture with this tool that we have, which is Afrobeat. And platforms like Spotify, Audiomack, Apple Music, TikTok, Facebook, and the likes gives us a meeting point. That's the point of convergence of this culture I'm talking about. So the problem is that the intersection of technology and culture in Nigeria, particularly among Lagos Gen Z, is undergoing rapid transformation. It's changing every single day. And Afrobeat is emerging as a defining force in digital communication, identity expression, and cultural export/exchange. Underline exchange. Yet, scholarly discourse often overlook how this generation is not merely consuming, but actively reshaping communication technologies through Afrobeat-driven content and interaction. So, there's a limited academic inquiry into how these two factors converge and calibrate the use and perception and innovation of communication technologies. This gap becomes even more significant considering Lagos' global reputation as a cultural powerhouse and creative hub. So the objective of the study is to examine how Lagos Gen Z engages with Afrobeat as a medium of cultural expression and digital identity. And of course, to analyze the influence of Afrobeat on the adaptation, modification, and creative use of new media technologies, and to explore how Lagos Gen Z and Afrobeat jointly, again, underline jointly, contributes to the cultural recalibration of digital communication technologies. And finally, to investigate the implication of the calibration of broader African digital culture and global media narrative. Let me slow down a bit here. The tool, which is Afrobeat, has been given to a channel, which are the digital platforms that I've been mentioning all along. Now, these platforms are not peculiar to Nigeria or the Gen Z in Lagos alone. TikTok challenges, which are Afrocentric, have been taken upon by youths all around the globe. An example of that is when Baby Calm Down by Rema was played at the Qatar World Cup. The entire stadium was singing along word for word, beat for beat, vibe for vibe. So now, we've always blamed cultural imperialism on bigger media like the BBC and CNN, forcing down the ideologies of the West and other places on earth. But now, through Afrobeat, we have our own medium of expression. So it's now left to us as a people to continue pushing this narrative and engaging with these cultures where we can now gradually have our voices heard, our stories told, and we can now recalibrate these new communication technologies to include not only the voices of other places, but also African voices. So,
Victor, could we ask you to give us your conclusion so that we don't run out of time for our one more paper?
Okay, yes, I'm summarizing now. I'm rounding up. Great. So no need to overplug the issue of cultural hybridization. I believe we've gone through that already. So I'll skip that. So the research design is qualitative. And when we are talking about culture and a product like Afrobeat, of course, we need to speak directly to the producers, to the singers, artists, and marketers of this genre of music. So the research design is qualitative. Of course, you have interview with musicians, influencers, content creators, and music experts. And by way of analysis, the lyrics, the visuals, the costumes, and culture which Afrobeat represent and is taken out to the world will also be revealed. And finally, is thematic analysis using NVivo and manual coding to identify patterns in data. That's pattern of interaction and exchange between this culture using Afrobeat as a tool. So to round off, the analysis is going to be done within different stakeholders like audiences, artists, and influencers. and comparative analysis of content across platforms. Thank you.
Thank you. Have we had luck with slides?
No. I had that from Federal College of Education in the presenting a paper titled Preserving Heritage, Continuities and Discontinuities in Music Education Practices in Kogi State, Nigeria. The paper of the Federal College of Education and abstract. This study examines the continuities and discontinuities in music education practices in Kogi State, Nigeria, using the Federal College of Education in Kenya as the case study. Despite being situated within the culturally rich their communities, the college's music curriculum does not adequately reflect or include the study and performance of the traditional music events. Courses such as African music and appreciation offers a broad overview of African musical traditions. Yes, it lacks specific content that encourages the exploration of the host community's musical heritage. Using qualitative methods, interviews, curriculum review, and field observations, this research explores how the exclusion of indigenous content, like Igbo music from formal education, undermines efforts to preserve local cultural identities. Findings show that while the traditional music remains vibrant in community life, its absence in the college's academic program is a missed opportunity for both cultural preservation and relevant place-based learning. Then just go ahead to introduction. Now, Nigeria is a culturally diverse nation with numerous ethnic groups, and each of these ethnic groups has its unique musical traditions. Now, unfortunately, despite Nigeria's rich, unique musical traditions, discovered that our curriculum is heavily dominated, especially the colleges of education curriculums, heavily dominated with Western music. I am not kicking against Western music. It is important fact that we need to learn, get some little knowledge from Western music, how Beethoven and the rest of them study about their life and all that. But having Western music as being the dominant curriculum is a major problem. Now, let's try to switch tapestry. The standardized national curriculum often emphasizes Western musical character, inadvertently sidelining indigenous traditions. Now, we have several scholars who have critically examined the dominance of Western music across education, and most of them have advocated for reforms to prioritize African musical traditions. Our African musical traditions switch to sidelining it in our curriculum, not actually the best. So several Nigerian scholars have actually talked about this. Now, the Federal College of Education located situated in the heart of the ethnic group for this state serves as the representative case for examining this phenomenon. The Igbo people boast vibrant musical culture integral to their social and ceremonial life. However, the extent to which this indigenous music is presented in the current curriculum remains questionable. The study investigates how the current curriculum handles the teaching of indigenous music at Federal College of Education in college located in the heart of the ethnic group in Kogi State, specifically Iran traditional music. The research highlights the value balance between standardized curriculum content and the need for place-based learning that reflects the host community's musical identity. I'm talking about the stages of improvement. Despite the vibrant presence of Iran traditional music in community life, its representation within the formal curriculum at FCA remains minimal. This disconnect raises concerns about the effectiveness of the current music education framework in preserving and promoting indigenous musical heritage. Now, I use Federal College of Education of Kenya as my case study, and Federal College of Education of Kenya is located in the heart of the Igbo community. Igbo people are located in the north central parts of this state, the north central part of Nigeria. Now, the Igbo music, heavily, they have a very rich cultural heritage, and their music is usually used as with communal values, historical stories, ethical lessons, and everyday wisdom. So I discovered that most of the Igbo music richly passes lots of communal values. Their music passes lots of lessons, moral lessons. Like we have an issue in the community where most of the men from the Ibira area, most of the Ibiras, they have this attitude of having concubines. They are married, or you see them having children from here. Then we have children from, they could have children from one community there, another community, they have children there. So there, one man may have 10 children from 4 different men. So also their women have 5, 6, 7 children from 3 different men. And these kids are located in every corner. So now I'm bringing up the story, this instance, to tell you how the kind of life they live. Now, most of the musicians, what they do is to sing about this. So thinking about this tends to curtail for those who are ready to learn, yes, for those who are ready to listen. So most of these musicians, traditional musicians, what they do is to sing about the ills of the society. And while thinking about the ills of society, tends to shape and correct certain things in the community. And as well, what they do also is to condemn from their songs, they tend to condemn people who do not act well. There are some songs where they say, okay, you have children there, you have children there. Now, who will take care of those children? At the end of the day, these children will turn to hooligans in the community. They will turn to armed robbers in the community because the father, no fatherly law, no mother to take care of them. So at the end of the day, these children will be left on the streets. get to suffer and they turn out to become nuisance to the community. So we have songs, music that tends to correct all these anomalies. So in essence, why I'm bringing up this community, the Federal College of Education is located in the heart of this community. And we discovered that on the findings, we don't study anything about their music in our college. So I'm trying to bring up a suggestion whereby should be included in the curriculum that each college of education should study the music of the host community, meaning that Wakene located in Irana, there should be a little study of music in their curriculum. Then so also, we have colleges of education in the East. So because the study of the host community's music is there in the curriculum, that those in the Igbo land, the lecturers there should do what? Study Igbo music. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Thank you. That ends our session. As I said before, lots more on music today here at 15am. So we'll all see each other at other panels on this topic. Thank you all. Thank you. Great.